Hey everyone, this is a little improv, but there's a practice that I use in CAD all the time where I drop a picture into a sketch. You can see I have a sketch here. Sketch one is on the top plane. You see the top of the view cube. This, if I'm going to design something for 3D print to begin with, I put it facing up as if you were putting it on a tabletop. So when you send it to the printer, it's facing the right direction in the software program, facing up like it's sitting on a table, like it's going to print. Um, so I put pictures in a lot, uh, but you end up zoomed in something like this, and 81 millimeters. If I look at this up close, it looks like I can trace this out, turn it into a really nice 3D print. Something that looks like this. This is not much bigger than a quarter across. And that means that these wall thicknesses, if you were to see them in real life, would actually be so um, skinny that they're not really printable. And the only thing you can do when you're getting started with tracing something is you zoom in, and I usually tell people to keep around 100 millimeters for the picture dimension to begin with, because that is about 4 inches wide. 100 millimeters, coincidentally, is about 4 inches, just underneath 4 inches long. So then you know that's a printable size, and then you look by just pulling a line across the width of these things to see how big it's going to be. That's only 2.1 millimeters now across after making that whole picture 4 inches long. Now, as I zoom in and look over something that I would trace and make parallel lines and try and make these black lines come up like this, you'd spend all that time doing this. The machine's printing it, and it looks deceiving because on the screen it's huge. But these are like a little bit thicker than your fingernail. And the machine is not really going to do anything printing them. This will end up like basically just falling apart. Now, back to a specific design. One of the common scenarios is when people are tracing something for the very first time. Something like this is a perfect example of a cool logo that, why not go for it? Well, if I make the total, this one is actually in inches, and I put a line across this entire circle, and this is 3.5 inches, which is relatively big. That's something that big would take more than 4 hours to actually print out, believe it or not. And the issue is that if you look at the distance across any of what you would want to turn into 3D, like these white things usually would be what people would trace out. If you look at it, it's 0.05 inches. Convert that to millimeters. Actually, let's see if I can go into the account and show you the unit change. Preferences. This is in millimeters. For some reason, the units in this document are in inches, but that's all right. Regardless, what ends up happening is tracing like this, and there's a sketch one, sketch two is where I want to be. Rather than using a tool like this that looks like it's designed for tracing, it does do a great job in sort of too complicated a situation if you can't use another tool. But really, they have a variety of arcs, and this conic one can do amazing things. These are perfect circles, but this conic arc can pull and stretch around and make some interesting shapes, and you can trace over the top of stuff with that. And that's by far the preferred, much faster and cleaner way to design something like this. So this is just one of those common things that goes on, and it's a very sensible decision to use something like that. But then what ends up happening is even if you take the million years to do all of this, and it's still going to have sort of rougher edges unless you know how to clean it up really well, and then it's going to just take you forever, kind of a thing. So move this out of the way, replicate this thing or duplicate it. And now I'm going to undo somebody's work and show you all what I would do if I were in this situation. Again, this is just an example of what goes on. There's a sketch in here. I haven't gone over that yet. That takes a whole nother minute. What you do is you put a sketch in and you put a new sketch on top of it. So it's like having two layers, and you're creating a new layer of drawing. So that way you can later on turn the picture off, the view of it off. And you're not, if you turn the sketch visibility off, it turns everything in the sketch off. And you don't want to turn off. You can draw right on the sketch one. First of all, it's in full color now, and it's more difficult to see whatever you would be drawing over the top of it. You can do it like I did here. I'm actually going to delete this and this. If you see the white arrow, by the way, knowing the difference is huge. You can grab and modify and move whatever when the white arrow is selected. I have to delete. And if you have a tool selected, like when I'm about to use this arc, I'll finish the sketch, go back over to sketch 2, and I'm going to be using this arc. It goes to a plus symbol or a crosshair. You have to know the difference to be able to draw. And then let me look at an example here. You can go across an area like this. You can maybe even go from here to here and pull arcs that you can connect together. That's a little bit extreme, and I'm just going off the cuff on an example here. A lot of the times you're not tracing it perfectly, just kind of getting a nice smooth contour and clicking and being okay with that. But you're hitting escape and you're turning that tool off a lot. My escape key is, I have a measurement that it's looking for. Enter. I needed to finish that enter before I can hit the escape key. No, know what's going on? Whenever I'm screencasting, certain things don't work. I have to right click and escape to get the white arrow. You can go in here and you can still flex and modify things as you go. But rather than clicking and trying to trace a line, this ends up being a lot easier. Let me try something. This is probably not going to work because it's a little bit too long. I'm just wondering how far I could really stretch and make it look okay. No. Again, I have to right click and hit escape. You would just use the escape key. But in a situation, this isn't the perfect situation, but these examples over here are more what I'm thinking. You just hit enter when you're satisfied and it'll continue using the tool. Even you can still create straight lines with this. So you can, by using it and hitting enter when you're done, get a much more accurate situation going on with contouring and whatnot. But again, this particular design, if you look at the distances now between here, to make this printable, we would have to make it so big. 0.07 inches. Again, it's like far too small a measurement. And again, this is the thing with this kind of a program. I just got a message. Like dealing with this in inches is not the easiest thing in the world, and I'm wondering still why the Onshape units. I know there's another place to change the settings for units on the fly, but again, it's unnecessary. You got to make sure that your default units when you set this up are. Oh, this is what it is. It's because I'm looking at the units on my account. This would have to be. I'm looking at another person's project, and this is set up on their account, so they have to go in and change the units. I don't have control over that unless I made a copy of this whole thing. I'm not going to do that. Anyway, that's a quick video review of like what it takes to look at these kinds of designs, and you have to really make sure that you're picking the right size stuff by giving the picture a measurement to begin with, like I did up in here. This, by the way, is the dimension tool. If you get a picture in, you just click on either one of the edges and make sure that you change it to, most images that I trace, I tell people to start off with 100 millimeters because that makes it 3D printable if we end up deciding to. I can only print so many projects by using my own 3D printer at home, but I'm going to try and do my best to get as much of this kind of stuff into your world as I possibly can. So this is just a quick sample video, so off the cuff, but it should help.